vida reina of the jungle. Mira mi tranquila vida riding down the Congo. Got that Eldorado when my mama do the mambo. I so aficionado while I'm banging on my bongo. Little one ni saco vida reina.
kona nā po'o ana nui a kea o Turtle Island. O nā moku like ole o ka. As we gather today, we of color, that we are all calls on us, suggested by this series, our knowledge peoples. Bring for that aloha to that to healing for us by their understand breathes life to my source. And aloha mai no kako.
And I am a friend. Days there. Artists. Asian American Theater Conference and Festival will be happening next year. Dialogue with our colleagues at E. And the focus of this 8th practice, we're very Opua and I have produced testify at how, and I know that point with my own company is practice, bringing our practices, infrastructure for me, and
Kalamai is an out for networking. Encouraged us to ground ourselves. Was a shorter couple days theater makers, and I found that we talked through some issues later in the institute, opened me up to made us better art. Mahalo anui, and I look forward to the conversation today.
Our other hosts and guests. Mahalo.
Awesome. Mahalo.
Land acknowledgement. I start, so we're going to pause for just a moment. I want to say mahalo and thank you to those that are going to be sharing this session with us today. My name is Tampa, Florida, which is the National Institute of Directing and Ensemble. I'm going to give you a little bit of history and get to show convergence of KATA and the Directing Institute study phase, preparing to launch the National Institute at the third national about directing and ensemble. Leaders of ensembles and of devising early visioning and virtual. And we've had peer exchange. In 2017, we did a next general and field building. So 2-minute video that gives you an overview.
From our own to our growth as an American theater.
It's that I didn't
in
bravery. Where I looked from every single person from different cultures, different.
So that's a little taste. So the idea of today's episode is to Institute's journey and experience. And they'll be doing a panel for you, moderated in creative practice. We wanted to begin our time about 10 minutes. And we hope you'll participate from that way as well. So our very first actor and movement artist, dancer, stage combat, martial artist, choreographer, and former gymnast, who has created a trilogy of works, include Legendary and Change, which and was garnered actually 6 of Sumi Kim's shows have Philadelphia. So we're very excited to begin with Sumi Kim to be posted on social media. Okay, let's
tonight from all of this away from their devices And you can kind of just move however you want with spelling your name. Okay. So we're going to start with spelling your name. Next movement is move your quest. Drop it up. Drop it up. Big, small. Make your movement. Thank you, Max. So, wanted to do a little bit of a fun. The scope. Employ this game is going to tell us of their camera visual story together in a phrase. Okay. Andrea.
Day in Minneapolis about it over here on the entire community sort of embraced them, and they wanted wood, they have a lot of wood. Somebody donated wood, but they wanted an axe and an anvil. So I went down the street over here. I bought the axe and an anvil, and I was just walking across over here 3 blocks down to give it to them. Because they've been here for 3 weeks. We knew each other, community knew each other.
I'm so sorry to cut you off, Dipankar. I know it's a cliffhanger. Maybe you can tell us the rest of the story later. But for time's sake, I just want to go over what we've done. Andrea, do you want to show us your gesture? Do you want to show us what you've done, Andrea?
I think I picked multiple gestures, but definitely I had this.
Okay. Okay, so everybody do that. So you have this, this, and this. Oh, that. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I think there was a lot of this, right? 1, 2, 3. Can we fairly say that's it? That's it. That's what it is. All right.
That's great.
And Denise, what's yours? Oh my God, that was mine. Okay. 3. Marlena, what's yours?
Y'all got my gestures, so I'll choose another one.
Great. So if Andrea's 1, 2, 3, Denise 4, 5. Yes. So mine were actually a little bit in the same vein, but I think that I'll do the chopping one. Chop. Chop. Right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it? And let's repeat that again. Cool. So we have this like little phrase of movement, right? What can you do with that? What can you do with it? Well, you can maybe set it to some music. You can repeat it. You can dissect it. You can rearrange it. You can extract it so that you take it back and more into like physical space, so that if I wanted to do that, I could create theme and variation of task. Otherwise, I will pass it back to Andrea.
Up and getting us creative. The music you've been, Jay Cotton, thanks for those. The multidisciplinary and change, and Marlene Augusto Boal's Theater of Island Festival.
And it's also not So I'm linguation for language and the etymology are there onomatopoeia sound through my gestures and then and sound hashtag. So Ali Mahira Bakit Tungkito dagat.
Yeah.
And a one on dagat. Good job. Tong tong pakitong kitong is really jarab how big and how it's cost. Mira nonsense really conqueror. It
Dana, that was so much fun and such a fun. We're going to go to Angela's cultural range of communities and process. So we encourage.
Fantastic to be here. Let's do it. You need to choose. Okay, wedding. Go somewhere in your house. This 7. You're gonna go when I say go. 5 minutes. Ready? And just pause your fantastic work wherever you're at. Come on back, everybody come back. So this was just an exercise to help you work on exploring with whatever you got, with movement, text, ideas. But now let's think directorially about this little study that you just created. What sticks with you from what you just did? So what interested you? What evoked something in you? What angered you? What frustrated you? All those things. Think about that. And you might want to take some notes, or you can just think this through in your head. Now, we could just create an ordinary scene, and that's totally fine. Could look like something on a proscenium stage. But let's think about other ways that this piece might go. Think conceptually about it. What were some of the ideas that you discovered when you were working on it? How might those ideas be represented without pantomime or regular everyday gesture? Or that an everyday gesture, like some of the movements that we saw in some of the other exercises, like, this or this, how might that change? As Sumi was showing, how might it change and evolve into something else? So thinking conceptually. Then thinking about organizing these ideas, concepts, and our movements into a pattern or a phrase. There might be interruptions to this phrase. And what might that mean? What kind of new meaning can you add to the work that you've been doing? And also, what might you edit out and throw? Thinking with ink on your piece. What traces?
It's an amazing. I mean, it's like we are standing in front of an Japanese three artists who might week directing. It's really an honor to have three of you here, and especially today on this day, which is very important, being an international people who identify as women in that, and also we are reopening this important moment in Minneapolis, where the first jury selection is beginning today for George Floyd's murder. So it's a very charged day here in Minneapolis, and beginning our evening with these three powerful voices, it really is an honor. I would like to just begin quickly with, I want to ask, let's begin with Marlena. Marlena, the way of introducing yourself, could you just tell us what is your approach to directing? I know you can talk about that for a long time, but all of you have just 2 minutes. Just give us a window approach to your process. Marlena will begin with you, and then we'll go to Sumi, and then we'll go to Denise. So Marlena.
Rode a canoe, the power of the direction does not come from the person in front, but the person behind everybody else. And I think directing is really about that, is like creating the flow for everybody to move forward as you're trying to give the direction almost in a nonverbal way. Again, as a bilingual person, I'm always fascinated by how people respond to the actual words, and not just to the meaning of the words as we know it, but also to the sound of the words as they are said, and playing around with that. Mina and I had the wonderful opportunity to co-direct this play together, and because we're both bilingual, I think that playing around with language brings out a third language in everyone. And whether you only speak one language or 6 different languages, there's always one other language inside you that needs to be spoken when you're on stage and when you're behind stage. And that's what you look for, is like, what is that vocabulary? If you're acting, what is the vocabulary that your character has inside them that will speak when you speak the words and that we hear them? What is the vocabulary of the set designer? How do they communicate through lights? I mean, all of that is language to me. And I think I see everything as like a holistic experience, which theater really is.
Yes. Yes, Marlena. I saw the production, and it was mind blowing that how sounds and body sounds made through your body with connection with the stage. I saw you create really revolution on stage in that piece, Isla Tuliro, and linguistic eloquence was really a unbelievable language you used, which was beyond articulated alphabets, and gave me so much to think about, and so much more we can explore with what comes out of our mouth and sound. So thank you for that. And I know there is so much more you can and want to say. That moving on to Sumi. Sumi, we just saw how with a story with physical gestures in a short screen, how you took 5 gestures, made it into a language and vocabulary, kinestetized it, and started telling the story, moving in 360 degrees, and so much more with just a 2-minute exercise of physicality. Sumi, could you share with us how you approach your craft? I think you're muted, Sumi.
Sorry, I keep forgetting. Okay. Thank you very much, Dipankar, for being our storyteller. There's always so much that you can do with very little in terms of physicality, which is really exciting and fun. Because you can take like those 5 little gestures that we just came up with from you, the storyteller, and we can make them, you can repeat them, you can dissect them, you can craft them into, you could combine these exercises and take Denise's discoveries from her exercise, which for me was kind of about composition and like lines. And you can create like a pattern, right? And then you can take some of the movement that we generated earlier and, use that movement in kind of like whatever form you want to. Play with tempo, play with time. And so, I don't know, choreography is just really fun. It's always challenging to make a choice, but once you do, you kind of start to see the connections. If you want to do, like, say, an adaptation from a short story, or if you want to do some kind of staged poem, you start to discover what I like to call the gems of the piece, which is what I love in that kind of like creative process, is like going aha, 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 and then sort of stringing these ideas together, and then maybe taking away the sound, maybe taking away the text, or creating your own language, as Marlena was saying. And I so agree with you, Marlena, about, you were putting it in a different way, but I really feel that when you're working in a collaborative way, which is the way I very strongly, which I have done and which I do, I feel like, yes, you're right, the designer, the writer, the movement person, the tech people, and the lighting designer, the dramaturg, we're all cut from the same cloth and telling the same story. So it's really, for me, important to have everybody in the room be part of the process from beginning to the end production. You're muted now.
All of you have been a part of the National Directing Institute and Ensemble Creation. So inherent in it, we talk about creating and crafting community. And no, it was always important, but now with what is happening in today's world, and with what is going on, is great, Sumi, to hear you re-articulate that a community can get crafted, art can get created, in community with others and in an ensemble, and a whole vocabulary that emerges. And moving to Denise, Denise, always a complex thinker and a complex creator, and I've seen you taking moments, fractal moments, and then ultimately stitching these fractals together and creating a completely mind-blowing narrative. And the location is so important to you, like the way you were describing at the end of it. You're doing your movement, and each one of these, add to the vocabulary. And you're a master stitcher. You get these layered moments, and then you stitch them together and create a new language. And that's what is interesting. All of you are saying this, saying that how we arrive at a new language, arrive at a new vocabulary. And Denise, I've seen your work and always been in admiration of it. If you could just share a little bit about your particular process of how you enter the work.
Thank you, Dipankar. It's different every time, but I do find that with my work, I don't do it deliberately, but I find that I try not to limit myself to go, oh, that doesn't look like acting, or that doesn't look like dancing, or whatever, because I feel like our work doesn't need to fit in a box. I say that as a performance artist, but also just as a person who does theater and more like avant-garde type of work. We tend to get kind of mesmerized by television, so everything starts to look like a talking head. But we have all of these elements of movement and sound and amazing languages from Meena Dipankar and that Marlena brought out from us. And so I tend to work more, often I work thinking of the stage or the space where the performance is happening more as a dream space, where anything it can happen and is permissible. And from there, I begin to edit down to try to figure out what is it I'm trying to convey in the work. I do have a lot of background in writing and text and playwriting, very literal, but I also originally started more with interdisciplinary work. And I find I've come back to that partly because of community. Because sometimes when you're working with a group of people, they might not be method actors or something. In fact, rarely do I work with that particular type of performer. Sometimes they can play the guitar or they can paint. In the last thing I did at the Institute, there was a young woman who was a fantastic artist, and we only knew that because through the process of talking, she said, I'd like to just make this amazing thing that kind of relates to my Indigenous community. And then she painted during our performance and then rolled it out while we were performing around her. And Dipankar was wearing blue lipstick, among other things. And then Dipankar we had him teaching us martial arts, a certain kind of training, and then we were doing that, as well as there being a story. So sometimes I find that those layers, if done in a way that you can hear each other and see what's going on, can add to it. And I do think that it can look like a hot mess, or it can look like something that is untamed, basically. And by that I mean, we don't want our minds and bodies tamed, right? This is why we do this live work. And so I feel like that's what we are trying to, that's where I'm attempting to go with my work and direction.
Denise, I remember seeing a piece of yours in Arizona and being, I think it was called Shooting Columbus.
Yes.
and being completely blown away by the layers in that work and the way you did it in such a site-specific way. It was unbelievably beautiful. Your collaboration with Indigenous artists, as well as just your concept of that work. So I just want to say thank you. I mean, it's really a pleasure to have you here. So we're just going to watch right now a little bit of the 2017 Institute, in which Marlena, Sumi, and Denise participated. And then we'll go on with our next question after we see that video. So if we can roll the video, that would be wonderful.
This is and respected as much as it should. And all society, if we know about each other.
Beginning with structure of movement.
Gaining the movement to be
Lives.
young people as less than.
Those that are very serious for maybe 5 years of
Mainstream, it doesn't make space. And let it come through and honor it. Don't question it, don't make me explain, but just honor the being of it.
For people to and not be afraid of losing order or turns in our speech in this space, right?
and being in this space antidote to those oppressive.
And maybe we can have Sumi Institute for you.
That I just felt song at NIDEC, right? Within the specific environment with the artists that you all invited, and just that setting was incredible. And it was, like Marlena said in the video, just sort of embracing of all different types and all people that were from, we had Nabal, is that his name, from Palestine? Sarah from, so forgive me, I can't remember where exactly she was from, but like it was so beautiful to hear multiple languages being spoken. The thing that I felt that I did at the table, that me, I'm so sorry, I don't remember interviews to be welcome with some classroom space. Yeah.
Creating rituals that are from our own ancestors.
I felt in Indigenous culture, and just amazing how over the years how the Institute has grown and deepened, matured, and that I different ways of. I love the time that we took to get to, so interesting in 20-person sessions and all the different. I think that also in 2020, just Minneapolis, I just want to acknowledge that, and it was cool to do this work.
From Minneapolis.
This just came to mind, bringing me home. The streets to we actually, following Philando Castile, she was a white woman, an officer converged at that moment, or interrupted, or I guess welcomed back by the harsh reality of what was going on in my own neighborhood, in our own streets. And that's where art and reality and art and life really converged for me. It reaffirmed for me, going back the following day to the workshop, why we were doing that workshop. When we were watching the video, it also made me think of a line from a poem by Rumi, "Out between wrongdoing and right doing, there is a place, I'll meet you there." And I thought that the National Directing Institute created that kind of space where there was no wrongdoing or right doing. Whereas Mina, I've often hear you say, what Panji aspiring to be, where there are no margins, there's no center, there's no outside, there's no center, and everybody is in the circle. And that's what the Institute taught me, that it was possible. I met some amazing artists, some memorable presentations like Shaheen talking about skinography, which is something I'd never heard of before, how you can create a teeny tiny stage into a forest, the illusion of technology, I remember Izumi and her body rigor, like Japanese American woman performer dancer from New York, how she fell on the chair, retaining her shape, and how that kind of talent was that your body is capable of that. Um, there were so many memorable moments, and I think that it was a formative experience for me, and I'm really grateful that you invited me to be part of it and met Denise and Sumi and Leslie and everybody else, and Nabucco, who was an icon in the theater community. It was very powerful.
Yeah, I think the relevance of the work and the relevance, fortunately or unfortunately, the work that these artists, you all are doing, and what we are doing is always relevant. And at times I wish it wasn't. At times I would only like to talk about the aesthetic of our work, but our politics and the cloak of this color of skin and how we look makes our work constantly relevant. And I have so much of respect for each one of you and the work that you do and what comes out of your mouth. I would like to go to the last question of this journey. It's strange. Talk about living in strange times. We are all past 1 year. We thought is past, is not even past, is very much present. And in this year, this is March. Can you believe that? I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, under pandemic, there are many things that, you modified your practice. And I know each one of you have never stopped creating, never stopped crafting within whatever is the present situation is. You're continuing your work. How do you imagine whatever you have gained, if you have gained something in this journey, in the pandemic, in wherever you're contained, how do you imagine this impacting your work in the long term? And we will let's say we'll begin with Sumi this time.
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
Okay. I was thinking about that actually as I was doing Denise's exercise, because it was just sort of dawning on me how important it is to have time to play and just to like explore. And I was thinking about kids, and I was thinking about how my childhood and like how, like the summers were endless and so much time to just explore. And that's what this has given me, and I think a lot of people, is just time to just sort of ruminate on what's important to you and how to move forward with sustaining, some semblance of creativity when you're not feeling like an artist, because we're not going into rehearsal space and we're not, there's no like gig happening at the end of the pandemic for sure. But it has allowed me to flex different muscles. I mean, for instance, of course, we're all a lot more Zoom savvy. Nobody knew what Zoom was, and I became kind of prolific at being able to teach movement through Zoom. And then I also started to think about the different forms that art can take. Like, it seems pretty obvious to write a screenplay, but I never thought about doing that before. And I decided that theater is so ephemeral, and some of these stories, like for instance, the Kathy Change story, that was a stage production, I felt like there needed to be like a larger audience for it, and there had to be able to reach more people and tell a story about an Asian American woman in history, is something that I've never seen. Like really never seen, besides maybe in a documentary form. So that's a project that I'm embarking on. And I also created my own business where I'm freelancing, doing choreography and dance for gymnasts, and I'm creating choreographing floor routines and trying to find a way to do my little part in a grassroots way, creating a healthier training culture for young athletes. Because I was a gymnastics coach for many years, and I do a lot of floor choreography. And in light of a lot of the things that have happened over the last couple years with all of the sexual misconduct and abuse that's been going around in the sports world in general, it just kind of led me and compelled me to get to this place to actually use my creativity and some of the activism and some of the things that I've been learning for like the last 10, 15 years of my life as a theater artist and kind of merge it with like, you know, my other profession as a coach. So that's what's been going on, and it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, thank you, Sumi. Sumi, it's just there are so many. It's almost like, you know, it could never be. It's like a water that keeps flowing. It can never be stopped. It emerges into different tributaries. And Denise, what will you carry forward from some magic from what you have gained under this strange circumstances of COVID?
Well, I think that for me, understanding what my family is for and about, and what I'm for to them, it was really quite interesting and inspiring to be in another panel that Pangea put together around reimagining education, and then seeing another panel that happened where one of the educators from the UK was talking about how do children learn in a pandemic. And one of the things that she said was, we've had a lot of success with kids going out and doing nature, leave Zoom and go, we can reimagine. And also ourselves, we might not even have a place to live, which that's always been a problem, but now there's so many more. And I'm engaged in a project right now with Aaron O'Brien and T. Loving. T. Loving and I are here in Tucson, Arizona, and we're working on a project called Easy Bake, and it's about queerness and baking. And so we wanted to do this with queer, trans, BIPOC youth in the community. T works with the AIDS Foundation here, and they are very, very close to that community. And as we evolved the project, they said, well, that community is now going invisible because they don't have access to the internet, and they don't have a place to live. So they're trying to build these crisis shelters, right? So we started rethinking our artwork to like, what have we really learned from this pandemic? How can we shift our project to really meet the needs of that community? Doing small micro baking sessions, maybe not virtually, maybe in person, maybe outdoors, or, you know, what is our, you know, what personally do I want to do as an artist to contribute and to help in this time? And that's just my personal choice right now, is to really address those inequities that have now been laid bare by this pandemic and that have basically always been here.
Say that we'll return to what it was, because we can't return to what it was, and we won't. Malina, like to share? Do you have a minute?
A minute. A Filipino minute?
Not a Filipino minute.
Not a Filipino minute. No. Filipino minute can be days.
It's a U.S. minute.
I'm not going to do that. Yeah, so we can work social distance. I mean, we can work from a distance. That Dipankar thing that you just bubble there. and you cannot stop and change, you know, whatever it is, you get challenged. This syndrome is not easy. Go to the one that you are. It's not necessarily theater because on public television is we did a convening with the drama plays, which great, we'll do this and then we'll sell them DoorDash gifts because we can't really serve food because we have social distancing involved. And I was just so stupid because when I said we'll send DoorDash gifts to the participants, food to an address, some people where you can't actually out things that I became hyper. I teach at Augsburg and different classes like will cause us to then find words get developed.
So much for being part of this panel. It was beautiful. Just what a delicious conversation. So with that, yes, thank you. And with that, we just want to let you know that the National Directing Institute, if you want to find out a little bit more about it, you can go to art2action.org or penjaworldtheatre.org and go look at the other happenings in HowlRound as well. Just want to really point to the next event us with Nobukomiya practice in the arts, whether it's directing. Really, thank you so much for funding us. A huge thank you. We couldn't do it without you, and we so look forward to meeting in person. But right now we're making do with these Zoom calls, and we've had some extraordinary conversations. I also really want to point to the next Kata episode, which is Hawaiian and Indigenous Theater in Hawaii. And that's on Monday, April 12th, 2021. So please do come visit us in that conversation. It'll be at the same time, and it'll be hosted by the Kata Steering Committee. And it's going to be beautiful, really. And I really want to also thank. We couldn't have done this without Ariel Estrada, who is the Kata staff member and also a line producer for this, and Max Uruzmendi, who is our technical director. Thank you, Max and Ariel. Really, you have been amazing for this. Yes. And also, we have a donation request for Kata. Please do support Kata. Kata is an amazing organization. It's a network across the country of Asian American artists and the ever expanding definition of what it means to be Asian Americans. And so really we are the most expansive network. We expand with everyone. And so really please do support Kata as well. And you can also become a member of Kata. And I'm just going to stop and let the rest of the slides roll.
Thank you so much, everybody.